Hello and welcome along to the Unplugged Pod, where each week we explore absolutely everything to do with switching off in a world that's always on. I'm David, and alongside me as ever is Mr. Unplugged, Hector Hughes.
And this week we're joined by Dr. Wenjie Cai. Wenjie is a world-leading researcher in many things, including digital free travel. He's been cited in papers all over the world, and he's come on today, so enjoy.
Wenjie, thank you so much for coming along to the Unplugged Pod today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Wanted to start with the question we always start with, which is, how do you unplug?
And the answer, probably you hear it 1,000 times already, because I'm a listener of your podcast. And yes, the answer is going into nature. But I have two particular activities I normally do. I really enjoy when I unplug is swimming in the open water, and also hiking. And also I think it's so important to getting away as well. For me, getting away, going on holiday is a way for me to unplug. I think our everyday life is so much attached with technology. So when you're at home or if you're in a home environment, it's so easy to think about work-related stuff and also technology-related issues. So when you go away, I think on holiday is a perfect opportunity for me to unplug. And swim, you can't really check your phone when you're swimming, can you? So I think it's quite convenient to say that. But also, I swim in the pool as well, but swimming in the open water is so much different. I can't explain why, but it's just when you are in that environment, you just feel so much engaged with the nature. And when you're talking about engaged with the nature, you can't really to be even closer by swimming. Your body is with water, you whole senses with this nature environment. So for me, I really love swimming in the open water. And I think for me, I don't need to think about anything to do with technology, anything to do with work, anything to do with other stuff. I can be just focusing on my breathing and focusing on what can I see around me. And so that is swimming. Also super enjoy hiking as well. And I think hiking and walking, there's so many different type of walking. Walking in the forest, I think that's very interesting because forest is a very interesting environment because I really enjoy the diversity of the forest. You see so many different type of vegetations, and really a moment you can really see celebrating diversity is the forest environment. But also I really enjoy hiking in the mountains as well. So last year, now it's 2024 already. So last year in the summer, we were in North Norway, in Lofoten. I did a lot of hikings, and some of the hikes are quite challenging. And for those hikes, sometimes halfway through I was thinking, I regretted this already. But it's a bit too much because in Norway, their medium level for us is difficult. And their child-friendly level is something that you have to climb like that. It's child-friendly. So, but after a very challenging hike, I feel that was such an amazing experience because at that moment, I don't need to think about anything else. I just need to focus on my breathing, what's going on in the current situation, and what I'm going to do in the next step. So I don't need to think about anything else. I don't really even have energy to get my phone out, take a photo. I just need to pay attention to what I'm doing right at the moment. So I think that is a particular moment I can fully concentrate. It's kind of state of flow as well. And I think that is something I probably would like to do a little bit more in the future as well. So go into nature, swim, and hike. So sorry, very long answer, typical academics.
And you've just spent a month traveling. How unplugged was that trip?
I didn't. So some trips I intentionally plan for unplugged holiday. So I would talk to my partner, say, okay, this is a trip we're going to lock our phone away. So we stay in unplugged a couple of times. Some of trips in Lake District, we lock our phone away as well. But this trip, we didn't really plan for that. But I was quite amazed of how much I didn't engage with my smartphone. And I think with that particular environment, so we were in Fiji for quite a lovely holiday in some remote island. We have to take a very long ferry to get there. But that kind of environment, you just don't feel like to engage with technology much. I mean, I use my phone to take photos, recording nice memories, but that's it. I didn't really engage with work emails. I don't really engage too much of conversation online. So I really, really like those moments.
How have you found reintegrating back into the world?
Very challenging because Fiji is super warm. I also in New Zealand as well. So there was a very nice, warm environment and come back to the UK with today's weather. So it's not really ideal. I think it takes a while for me to get back. I think initially back is such a shock because I also go straight into work as well without any kind of adjustment. Probably would be nice to have like a week to adjust to it. But I think slowly, I need to remember those warm, nice memory of my holiday and bring it back in this cold London weather. Yeah.
In Norway, I've never been. Apparently, it's very, very beautiful. My friend went there, and he went on is it the Devil's Tongue or the Mother's Tongue? And it's this there's a sheer drop either side of this big bit of granite, I think. I don't know if you went there and kind of experienced that as well, but it looks super crazy, no?
Oh yes, I know about that, but we weren't in that area. So we were in we're very North Norway. We are in the Arctic Circle. So that is the place the sun never set. Because we were there in the summer, so we can. Tromsø is not far away. Okay. Yeah, so Lofoten is those group of islands, and we did some midnight hiking. So that was you can never done that in here, right? So it's such a wonderful experience.
Does it set at all, or is it...
No, because it's an Arctic Circle, so in the summer it never set. Yeah, it's so weird because after your hike and you back to your cabin and there was like 3 a.m. in the morning, but the light still like literally like 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and you have to be like very quiet because you don't want to wake your neighbors up and think, oh, this is such a weird experience, but wonderful experience as well.
In Norway, there's a midnight sun marathon in the north of Norway in Tromsø. Yeah, might be one for us, Hector. Yeah, I think the premise is it starts at midnight and you run through the light basically because it's the midnight sun. So yeah, potentially.
Gosh, I'll pencil it in. Yeah, there you go. Great stuff. So I mean, much of your research is around digital free travel or travel generally. Like, why the interest in that particular space?
I mean, long story short, I always like to travel and my education. So I studied my undergraduate in China, and so I grew up all my life in China. I'm Chinese, and I studied electronic engineering, and I hate it so much because it is never my thing. And what I remember when I was in uni, what we did with my friend is we skipped class and we go backpacking. We just went backpacking, and so I realized I really love to travel, but it's not never being celebrating or praised in China by going on holiday or traveling in long period of time. Gap year is never a thing in China. So when I have an opportunity to come abroad to study, so initially my degree was human resource management. So now I think about that. Luckily I changed my subject. So I changed my subject the first week I arrived in the UK without telling my parents. And because travel is not really a proper degree in their perspective, so I took on. So I changed my subject in tourism, and I like tourism so much. So I did quite well in my master degree. I did my PhD in backpacking. So I research about backpackers. So follow backpackers around in Europe for the whole PhD. The most fun PhD, I would say. Everyone's so jealous, and then I start to get into new research after I starting a full-time job. So digital free tourism is one of the new research area I try to focusing on. And it's simply something that I observing in my everyday life. And all the research have been done is a reflection of my own identity. Who am I? What kind of person I I want to, which part of me I want to unpack a little bit further. So I was a backpacker, so I want to research about me. So I did a whole PhD about backpacking. And I also realized my problematic technology use as well. So that's why I want to kind of research on that. And in the tourism aspect, so many research about technology use in tourism, but they're all praising how great technology it is. So I want to be the person to questioning it and to be the difficult guy, I would say. Sometimes I think I'm a bit difficult because I'm always challenging the norm and why people are always kind of celebrating using technology without challenging it. So that's why we're starting this process with a group of colleagues. And that's why our journey started.
Love it. Just before we move on the backpacking, what was the research?
It's very difficult. Okay, I can't really articulate the findings in a very short period of time, but I following Chinese backpackers around in Europe, and the way Chinese backpacker travel is very different from what we consider as Western backpackers. They like to form a group. They like to find before they on. If you know about my friend, Erika, so she have this company called We Road, and it's a bit similar to what We Road did. So they form a group online before they going on a long-term backpacker trip. So they went online, go to forum, form a group and say, okay, we're going to spend Italy, Portugal for 20 days. Who would like to join me? So on the backpacker forum, they form a group and they traveling together throughout the whole month. And I was the person following them throughout the whole month to find out the dynamic, the group dynamic, and how the Chinese culture influencing them in a very hyper-mobile setting, and how this Western culture and Chinese culture clash throughout this experience.
Love it. How did it clash?
It's interesting because when they hate each other, they don't really say it. And I think our Chinese culture, we don't really say that. We want to maintain the surface harmony. But in the one-to-one interview, they kind of find, okay, this is a place that we can really tell Wenjie what we think. So there's kind of conflict of here. You can see that they want to maintain the surface harmony, but there's certain conflicts, but they still want to maintain the group when they're traveling.
And is your research, is it focused mainly on hard statistical data, or is it more anecdotal, how people are feeling and that kind of thing?
So in social science, there are two groups of research. One is we call quantitative researcher. They are very pro data. I'm in opposite. And actually, I'm on the other side of spectrum. I'm very bad at numbers. So I hate spreadsheet. And any number related stuff, I just can't remember. I can't remember my salary and stuff like that. So numbers, I just not good at. I like to talk to people. I like to theorizing things. So I am on the other side of spectrum. I do interviews. I do observation. I conduct ethnography, and so that's how I do research. So when I research about digital-free tourism, we do a lot of interviews. We also do observation of ourselves as a researchers, how we interact with people who are doing digital-free travel. You probably notice I use digital-free travel instead of digital detox. And there's a reason behind it, because we want to challenging the term of digital detox, because when you say digital detox, you kind of by default thinking about technology is a bad thing. Or you kind of connect it as a diet thing, because detox is coming from a diet thing. So we want to be more neutral terms, saying technology could be good, could be problematic. And in this neutral term, we're just taking the technology outside the context and how people react towards it. So we research about how millennials perceive about the idea of digital-free tourism. We research about how what this emotion journey looks like when people switch off their mobile phone when they're on holiday. We also research about what is the best way to resist towards technology when you are on digital-free holiday. So this is kind of three main findings we have done so far. We're also conducting a couple of new research at the moment.
What's the most surprising thing you've seen or heard in terms of people's emotional response to this and how they've reacted, really?
I mean, so now when I look back, it's kind of expected already. But at that time, when we did the research, we do feel a lot of people thinking, I cannot do that. I just cannot do that. And they kind of building a lot of a lot of preparation to get into it. But the moment when they switch the phone back on after the holiday, they are thinking about, oh my God, gonna have thousands of emails, thousands of messages coming to me. No, there's none. Right? There'll be one or two emails, one or two messages checking you are all right or not. And so they are thinking they are way too important. They are not as important as they thought. And sometimes I think, oh my God, all these emotions are so unnecessary. All this kind of thinking about the worry before you switch the phone back on. So one of the ongoing research, we actually asking participants to wear this wristband, similar to Apple Watch, but they monitoring all the physiological data. So your skin sweat level, your heart rate variabilities, your heart rate, and also your skin temperature to kind of check your emotion response when you throughout the whole experience. The data is not published yet, but one of the interesting things we found is some participants, when they are approaching the end of the Unplugged holiday, so they're staying in Unplugged cabin actually, approaching the end of Unplugged holiday, the night before until the moment they need to switch the phone back on, they're getting very anxious. They got very, very anxious. The figure is shooting very, very high. The moment when they getting the phone back on, the physiological data or the EDA level drops dramatically. So you're just thinking about, oh, it's nothing to worry about, actually. So I think that's very interesting. We need to be, I think it's a good lesson to learn as well. We just need to think about, are you that important, or you think you are that important? Or the technology make us to think about we are that important?
Yeah, it's amazing how, I mean, saying that kind of thinking towards just how it actually feels, because, you know, we've all experienced it, how it feels being away from our phone, reunited with our phone. It's amazing how such a little thing can do so much inside our body. Like, you've shown me some of that data, and it's wild. Like, it's wild how much, and I think we're so unaware of it for 99% of the time, right? And then you look at it, and you look at like what is going on within us all day, literally from picking your phone up in the morning throughout the whole day. And so yeah, it's really crazy to see.
A question for both of you then, who are obviously very heavily in this world. Maybe I'll start with you, Hector. Is there like an aha moment after 6 hours, 8 hours, 24 hours without your phone that people really start to switch off and the benefits can really be felt? Like, is there that moment, or is it more of a gradual process? Do you think there's a kind of a specific moment that happens?
Yeah, I mean, Wenjie has the research and the data on it, but I, from kind of lived experience, speaking to our guests, etc., then it feels like there is, like, almost the first day, you're actually a little bit more anxious, and then something just happens, you access this, like, deep sense of calm. So there's actually, there was a research project that often gets cited, written 2021, it was like, digital detoxes don't work. And the project is about participants just spending one day, so not even 24 hours, just like a day without their phone. And then at the end of the day, they're like, no, it didn't work. We had that once where we had a journalist come, he stayed for one night, and then he was like, no, this doesn't work, and went, you know. And what we found is that actually it does take about a day for the mind to settle down. Because that first day, like, you do feel a bit more anxious because we're so dependent on our phone. You're getting like phantom buzzes in your pocket. And so I think really allowing that to calm down. What I would also say, which, you know, we're still got ages to kind of figure all of this out, but something happens after a day, something else happens after a few days, something else happens after 10, 15, 2 weeks. I saw my old boss the other day who sold a company, which I used to work for, sold a startup, and he told me it took 9 months until he started feeling like, okay, I'm completely reset after the sale. So there are just these like levels and levels of levels. But yeah, I would say to really start feeling calm, it probably does take about 24 hours.
I agree. From our research, we do see participants went through a stage called withdrawal symptoms, similar to kind of giving up. alcohol and smoking, but the period is way shorter. So normally within 24 hours, and that is the stage they feel lonely, they feel anxious, they feel frustrated. They don't, because you building this strong connection with your smartphone and literally like penetrating every single aspect of your life. On holiday especially, you're using that for navigation, you use that for check the map, check out TripAdvisors, and also depending on where you unplug as well. So ideally, it's like unplugged cabin. You are in the middle of nowhere, don't have to worry about navigating transport system. You're not unplugging in Paris or London, right? It's much easier to unplug in the nature. So when you normally, for the very first 24 hours, participants, they just kind of feel, okay, fine. My phone is locked away anyway. I can't do anything about it. I accept it. Let's embrace what's going on here. But some participants, they are more driven about this experience, or they have a better balance with technology. They actually get into the experience way faster than the others. So really depending on their relationship with technology, are they traveling on their own? Where are they traveling? And and I think there's different varieties here to play to affecting the withdrawal symptom stage. But I would say majority of them enjoy that experience. When they went through the withdrawal symptom stage, they really enjoy the unplugged experience.
It could be quite an intense experience as well. We really hear about, I'm not sure how much of this you heard in your qualitative research, but we really hear about couples going in, having a great time, but just having like a flaming row in the middle of it, you know? Because it just like sometimes you've got that environment, the phones are away, the distractions are away, and it just like sometimes some of these things need to come out. So yeah, it's interesting to...
It is. So one of the new research we are doing is we are looking at the dark side of digital-free tourism. And we do see some participants, especially when they... So for example, couple is a good example. They have a lot of problems in their everyday life. They don't really talk about it. But when they are in that particular environment, they don't have phone to distract themselves, right? Yeah, they just got to talk to each other. And when you got to talk to each other, problems comes and they have some fights going on. Or there's some individual people going into digital-free experiences really struggled. And I think when you have to sit with your own feelings, and I don't think we have enough toolkit to give this kind of individual to support them in our society. So nowadays, millennials, Gen Z, they do not know how to deal with the situation of boredom. They don't know how to deal with to be bored. The idea of how doing nothing sounds amazing when you're on digital-free holiday, but when the reality really hits you, you're really doing nothing. Can you really know how to sit with this situation or not? I think there's another issue here.
Yeah, it's discomfort, isn't it? And that's just something that is, kind of famously heading out of society. Like everything's getting easier, frictionless, all this kind of stuff. And actually, sometimes it's on the other side of that discomfort where good things happen, and the magic happens.
You'll know, or you guys will know the quote better than I will. Who said it? Most of man's problems...
Blaise Pascal. All of man's problems stem from his inability to sit in a room with his thoughts.
Which is amazing, right? Very, very true. So let's say, Wenjie, let's start with you. Let's say someone's never gone 24 hours without their phone and they're planning a screen-free weekend digital detox away. What 3 tips would you give them before they embark?
Okay. I think you need to be well prepared. So it's important to tell your loved one, your friends, your families, your colleagues, you're going away. I mean, if it's a weekend, fine, right? If your company, you have a good culture of disconnect, not talking about work. But I just think about we are working in university. A lot of people work in the evening, work in the weekend, which is terrible. But it's important to let people know you are away and prepare for that. So I think this is very important to let those people know and don't need to worry about you, but also let yourself do not worry about they will worry about you. right? And I think that is kind of make you at ease. I think that's very important. But also, I'm not sure how many people in Unplug fully lock the phone away. I'm not sure do you have the data on that or not. But our research to find out, in order to fully experience the maximize the experience of digital free holiday or digital detox, you need to fully lock your phone away. Go cold turkey. I think that's so important because we did a couple of experiments to try. Sometimes we go on holiday, we try to do it unplugged during the day and then check the phone in the evening. But technology is so powerful on you. When you check, let's say check for 15 minutes, end up checking half an hour, end up with 1 hour, end up with, okay, let's just leave it for the morning for next day. So you need to find a good balance to negotiate with technology. When you're on holiday, why don't you just lock it away? And I think setting the boundary is so important. And also the third recommendation I will give is to be open-minded. So open-minded with new experience. Don't judge the experience when it comes saying, okay, you get lost, you feel frustrated, and that's so annoying. I want to get my phone back, right? Maybe getting lost is a good thing. You're going off the beaten track, you're finding new places, or you're thinking about, wow, so annoying. I can't really check the nice restaurant, which restaurant is good to go. I can't check TripAdvisor, it's so annoying. Maybe it's good to really explore some nice places, right? Or sometimes the places are not in the TripAdvisor or sometimes have very bad rating, actually provide the most authentic and nice experience you have. So be open-minded, negotiating the reward and punishment, and I think this is a good way to, good mindset to go into Unplugged experience.
Love it. Well, that was a very good list. So I'll echo a few of those points. But I think, first on the data, we do survey this. We get 65% lock it away completely, 25% say they check it a couple of times, and 10% just don't bother. And it's the ones who lock it away completely where we get the feedback like that was life changing. Again, every now and again someone doesn't sit well with it, but like those are the ones that are like the most transformative. And we still get people who go and they're like, had no intention of locking their phone, had a lovely time, love the cabin, loving, you're still in nature, it's a great cabin. But I think there is just something very different. And I say, yeah, the first point is exactly what Wenjie said, which is, just try and do it 100%, because as soon as there's I can't remember something like, as soon as you check your phone once, you're 60% more likely to check it again in the next few minutes. It's that kind of syndrome where once you've done it once, then the floodgates just open. So just don't even do the first time. And I think the second would be a really important point for that is the preparation, and it's just making sure that you've removed all the reasons you would have for checking your phone. So if you're like, oh, but I need my phone to get around, it's like, well, figure out whether you can read a map. We were speaking about this from your stay, and just make sure you have all of those things nailed down. If you need an alarm in the morning, get an alarm clock. It's all of these little things, because again, if you just have that excuse, it's easy to be like, oh, just check this, and then an Instagram notification pops up, and then it's all gone. And the other thing I think is just have like things you're excited about away from the phone. So I think if you're just sat there thinking about like, can't check my phone, and what do I do now? But if it's like, I think the people who really love it, or like really excited for a certain hike, or they're really excited to read a book that they've been waiting to read for ages, and so just having these things in place that just give you some structure and something to get on with, so you can get past the 24-hour withdrawal symptoms is key.
Do you remember initially when we stayed in the very first cabin, you literally locked the phone and took the key away? We have no other way to get the phone out.
Talk us through this, Hector, because I know initially when you had the cabins, you did actually lock their phone away, and you guys kind of had the key, right?
Yeah, this was it. So the whole thing is like, okay, well, we need, because basically the whole locking away the phones thing came from thinking a lot about digital detoxing. Read a book called Digital Minimalism about 6 months before Unplugged. So before we were even thinking about cabins, read that book, and it was like, oh, Unplugged would be a great name for a business. So I tried to buy unplugged.com, but it cost $100,000, so we didn't do that. So maybe one day. And so we're kind of thinking about this, and then as soon as we decided to do the business, I actually went to stay with a cabin company in the US. and went to stay with a cabin company in Belgium, and they all have like places to put your phone, like phone boxes, but not locked. And I'd just come back from a silent retreat, so I was really ready to get off my phone. Had like a pretty good relationship with it. Put it in the box, and then half an hour later I'd made excuses and I was on it. So I was like, we're actually going to have to lock people's phones away. So that was like a really important part of the early stages. And so we one idea was we could always get them to check in at a local pub, and they'd have to hand in their phones there, and then they could find their way to the cabin. But obviously that doesn't scale. So we're like, look, we'll just start. We'll take the key back to London and see what happens. So we did that for the first 6 months. We were cleaning the cabin, we were checking everyone in. And then what we realized, so the first month, people saw a cabin on Instagram, they came to come and stay. We tried to take their phone off them, and they were like, no way, what are you doing? Like, I'm not doing that. So what we realized is won or lost before you even get there. Like Wenjie said, like, you have to have told your friends, told your family, and be excited that that's what you're coming to do. And actually, if you can do that, then you've almost bought yourself into it. So then just having a lockbox with a padlock is enough. The padlock you close yourself, and there's a key in a sealed envelope. So again, it's just stopping you from, there's enough friction so you don't do that first time. So once you've broken the seal, it's done, but it's also there if you need it. So we don't take the key away anymore. And that has actually worked really well, and is still what we do today. So we'll see how that develops.
Are there any plans potentially to have one cabin that's more extreme down the line, where you throw the key in the river, or you're really giving people an option? Or have you found that method that you've got at the moment is like the nicest, not even halfway house, really nudging people but without going the whole way, of forcing them?
I mean, fundamentally it's what works, right? It's like what, because you're never going to get 100%. There are always going to be people who just don't want to lock their phone away, and that's fine. So it's just about, for the people who do, have they got everything there they need to lock it away? So actually what's really important is the other stuff that's in there. So like a Nokia phone, so they can contact us and they've got it in case of emergencies, a Polaroid camera, a map, like having those things are what enables them to be fine with locking their phone away. So that being said, I do think there's scope for the more extreme cabins, definitely on islands and up mountains, all this kind of thing. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe there's a bigger site of cabins where you literally drive into the reserve and hand in your phone at the gate, and yeah, that could all come down the line.
Can I share something quite interesting? So I like to teach about this with my students, and my students are not millennials; they are Gen Z or even younger. What was a younger generation than Gen Z?
It's gone back to A, hasn't it?
Anyway, they are very young. Okay. When I sell the idea to them, they are not convinced. And I think one of the reasons here is a lot of design in the Unplugged is try to trigger the nostalgic memory we have when we're younger, right? Those cassette tape, cameras and stuff like that. And for them, they probably thinking this is something novel, something interesting. It's like watching Stranger Things. Not really like trigger any memories they have. So they don't really have this emotional connection towards it. And some of them also ask me why I want to do that. When I'm on holiday, I want to in touch with my friends. Maybe when I'm starting working full time, maybe I have more work commitment, I might like to try this kind of experiences. I wonder, would you be able considering targeting, even try to targeting younger generation, or not really your thing?
Definitely, I think, but again, it kind of, I think it's like getting to a place where they want to come and do it. So we do actually get a surprising amount of 18, 19, 20-year-olds, because I think there are, within that generation, you've got the full extreme, right? You have people who are completely plugged in the whole time. You also have people who are very conscientious and really care about, the climate and mental health and all these kind of things. So there are people who really do fly that flag, and so I've been surprised, because I thought we just wouldn't get anyone from that generation, for the first however many years. It's starting to happen. We'll see over time. I think I'd love to. I think it's probably the younger people get now, the more ingrained this kind of digital life is, and maybe some of the challenges that come with it. Again, many positives as well, and that generation is going to be a lot more technologically literate than us, which will come with advantages, but there are definitely challenges as well. So I would love to see how we can help that. But I think it's one of those where it will just emerge over time, and actually just being out there as a brand. One of the many reasons I want to do this podcast as well is just like the more we can be talking about it, having the conversations, Like, we start to figure out just where this goes. But I feel like we kind of pushed the company off at the start and got it started. And you're obviously pushing the whole way. There's a lot of pushing, but it's started to kind of morph into its own thing, and people are just reacting in it and with in so many surprising and interesting ways. And so it's almost in some ways kind of beyond me now, and I'm just a cog in the machine trying to keep it all going.
And one thing I also wanted to ask, Wenjie, is you said you teach people that are quite young, and you obviously have a lot of exposures to that. And Hector, I presume you talk to a lot of kind of potential people that are going to stay in the cabins. What is there a red flag that you notice in people, personally or professionally, where you think, wow, you could really do with a weekend or 3 days without your phone? Or, obviously, everyone on some level needs it, but do you ever encounter someone you think, wow, you really do?
I have to say, all the academic need that. Literally, we are the worst. I think we have the freedom. I think that one of the reasons I decide want to be an academic is the freedom. That means we don't really need to go in at 9 o'clock, finish work at 5. We can decide when we want to work most of the time. We only need to be on campus when we're teaching or have meetings. But that means we're also working all the time. That means we work in the evenings, we working on the weekend, and we working on holidays all the time. So I always thinking about it's so important to redraw the boundary, because the good thing about technology is it kind of all the boundaries does not exist anymore. That means you can work when you're on holiday, you can on holiday when you're work, but I think it's so important to redraw this boundary again. And that's something I always try to sell to my colleagues. So one of my colleagues are staying with Unplugged in the coming February. So I think more and more academics definitely should do that.
Nice. And I mean, Hector, you're pretty unplugged anyway. I mean, I was sending you some voice notes today. Did you think that guy needs to unplug a little bit, or like?
I am, but to some extent, it's one of those where like the more you kind of lean into that, the more you notice your own addiction to all of these things. So, I have some good habits, but I have plenty of bad habits as well. Like I spend a lot of time in the day just like switching between like email and WhatsApp. One of my big things at the moment is actually getting away from that, so putting in more boundaries. So I'm actually looking at getting some virtual assistant's help and just getting me out of all those things, so I no longer have access, because I'm not like a strong willpower kind of guy. I just find myself kind of flicking through it. The things that do work well for me is other things that have like firm boundaries. So for example, I get off my phone 6:30 or 7 every evening until probably like 7:30, 8 the next morning, and like that is just easy now. It's habit, and there's no kind of choice. Is what you were saying earlier about like if you check it once, so like at any time I'm like, oh, during the day I'm just going to try and like carve out these little windows and stuff like that. It's just during the day my mind just goes and end up just getting swept away in it. So yeah, I find it much easier to put in firm boundaries. But like I do feel like it's almost this, we'll go away and really get offline for a few days and just have this reset and be like, come back and know what I need to do, and then just life just happens to you, over the next few days. So which is why I really do think that the best way is just to make sure you're regularly kind of having a proper break and just a chance to reset.
It's all about a process. I always say digital detox or digital-free tourism is not a solution of your problem, but it's a process of you learn how to negotiate with technology, find balance, because I think everyone has their own relationship with technology, and you need to find your own way to find this balance with find the best way to be with your technology, because they can do good, but also what is the best way to deal with them. So by doing this kind of digital-free experiences, or try to negotiate the different way of doing, setting boundaries, not checking your emails in a certain time, and I think it's so important. So I try quite a few different things. I mean, Hector, I think I told you I try to not leaving my phone in the living room, not bring it into bedroom, but slowly I bring it to bedroom again, or all the different things. So I now I using iPhone, so I'm moving my work email to the final page. So if I have to kind of unlock my phone, swipe to the final page to get to my work email. So this kind of tiny things, I turn off most of my notifications. And I just feel that is amazing because I'm more in charge of what my relationship with technology. Instead of they kind of keep telling me, hey, look at me, check me out. Because we are really living in the attention economy. So all the technology are kind of ask you to check them out. So I think I'm still quite tech savvy at the moment, but I have a much better relationship with technology. Thanking to my researcher, to you as well, by talking to you guys. It's a process of learning.
David, I'd love to know, 17 episodes in, have you kind of reflected, changed? How's it changed your habits?
So, well, first of all, it's got me thinking, obviously, about the topic a great deal, which is hopefully the start of it. Turning my phone off at 8 p.m. I don't quite at the 6:30 Hector, but turning my phone off at 8 p.m. is big now, and I'm happy for people to hold me accountable to that.
You're doing that every day, yeah?
Yeah.
I won't be able to, but...
No. But it's, So it's, I think that's really big. And if someone catches me messaging them at 9:30, then they can call me out, because, yeah, I'm pretty set for... I'm all about habits that you can do for the rest of your life. You know, at this point, I wouldn't start a habit really that I didn't think I was going to be doing in 10 years' time, whereas I can see myself turning off my phone at 8 p.m. every day. And you said something interesting about willpower, Hector. And there's so much talk at the moment about ultra-processed food. And I just think you said you haven't got very good willpower, but willpower's almost not enough against your phone because it's so powerful. That's why you have to turn it off, not just put it on airplane mode or tell yourself you're not going to look at it. And I have a pretty good relationship with food, but if I have one Jaffa cake, I'll pretty much have the whole pack straight away because I'm powerless against something that is so... The genius behind ultra-processed food has made it so palatable, like hyper palatable, that you just can't. It's out of your control. And I feel like it's the same with phones. I can't look at WhatsApp once. I would look at it like every 10 minutes for 10 hours, which is pathetic, but it is what it is. So yeah, I have to turn it off. So the willpower thing, I think you can identify your own failings, but I think that you have to turn it off, or I personally have to turn it off, yeah. That's why the 8 p.m. shut off rather than 8 p.m. put it in a different room is better for me.
That's it. I think it's all about design, environment, like all this kind of stuff. I'm also the same where I actually, my eating habits, not bad now, but I definitely went through a period of just unhealthy eating habits of like binging, etc. It actually came from experimenting with fasting. So from that experimenting with fasting, it kind of just knocked me out of whack and just meant that, you know, I was, when there was food in the house, I was just nailing it because my body was like, oh, what if he cuts us off again? So it is hard, you know. It's one of these things where the more you think about it, the more addicted you feel, and then there is just this kind of very negative loop. So I think, I really think that environment is the biggest thing, and yeah, it's like, don't have the Jaffa cakes in the house to start with is the way. But then it's tough because you're walking around the supermarket.
Yeah. And if Jaffa cakes want to sponsor us, by the way, we're open to that as well. Looking ahead a little bit then, what do you guys both see as the biggest trends in the next 12 months, 12 years potentially of digital-free travel, Wenjie? Do you see a day when people's 2-week summer holiday is naturally linked to turning off their phone?
I literally see... So there's a brilliant Iceland commercial. I'm not sure you guys watch that or not. So Iceland tourism, they are genius. So... Actually, I use their out of office this year when I'm on holiday. So what they do is they get horses to write out of office email for you. Yeah, check it out. So I noticed that recently a lot of commercials, like British Airways recently have a new commercial as well. So saying, while we're on holiday, why we check emails, stuff like that. So you can see that they are pushing towards this kind of more mindful, digital free or digital minimal experiences when you're on holiday. And I can see this is a big trend because people who are working, especially working in the cities, knowledge workers, I'm not sure about other industry, but just reflecting ourselves as academics, we literally check email all the time and work all the time. And it's so important to going away without technology. So I really see there's a big push towards that. Also gonna be applying in hospitality sector, not just tourism, hospitality, maybe event as well. So to be more immersive. So I really like to see concerts, and one of my big favorite band is Florence and Machine. So when Florence singing "Dog Days Are Over," the ritual is she asked everyone to get the phone away, and everyone dancing together, hugging each other, and really enjoy the moment. And I think this kind of experience we need to do more in event setting as well to really immerse, to engage with the environment and to remember the memory, because memory is not just captured on your phone. It's now so pathetic. All your experiences looking through the screen to see how the screen recording the concert, and we're just missing out the experiences. I didn't really grow up in 70s, but when I look back the 70s photos when people enjoy the concert, they really enjoy it without just enjoy through the phones. So I do see a big trend in the industry, entertainment industry, events, hospitality, tourism are moving towards this more kind of mindful technology use in the future.
For sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's, to me, it does feel like it is inevitable that will emerge as an industry. I say inevitable, it takes a lot of work. I think one of the reasons change happens is because it's made sexy, aspirational, all these kind of things. And I think there is a bit of a movement now with, offline becoming the new luxury, and that's only going to grow. But fundamentally, it is just a better experience. So Wenjie's talking about pop stars, singers having concerts that are offline. Like, someone goes to one of those concerts and experiences that, it is just a better experience than when everyone's on their phones. So I think that does win out in the long term. And I also think, like, it's not working, this constantly being online. Like, so many people are burnt out, anxious, stressed, all these kind of things, and that's fine. And new technologies come along, so many great things it's brought as well. But it's one of these where I think something comes along and it gets mass adopted, super addictive, whatever it is, causes problems, and then years and years later we start to see those problems, and then what happens is you start to get more insight, research into why it's a problem, and as that learning happens as a society, we then start to kind of reject it, so like smoking or ultra processed food, for example. And again, I'm not comparing technology to them, because technology does bring a lot of stuff, but in some of its current forms, like scrolling through a social media news feed, like that, I'm sure we'll look back on. I don't think people are going to be scrolling through social media news feeds like they do now in 20 years. That's my hot take.
Oof, love it. It's interesting what you said about going on holiday as well, because there never used to be the option of having Wi-Fi on a plane, and now it's there. Like, I buy it, and it's like £8 or something for 6 hours. And or 10 quid for 6 hours. And I bought it before, and your brain is like, well, I could actually do a bit of work if I get online here. And it's crazy.
I really enjoy flying long haul without checking my phone. I think that's the best moment. I actually feel so great that even though Wi-Fi is available, I never try to kind of connect to Wi-Fi. I just feel this is a great moment. I can really unplug. To be honest, I should answer your question differently with the very first question. I actually how do I do unplug is I go on airplane without checking my phone, and I think that's a great moment. Yeah, but that's brilliant. I really like those the long haul flight. So fly to New Zealand literally took 24 hours to get there, and without checking my phone. I mean, of course, I still watching TV. Very a bit guilty now, but I just like those moments. Nobody can reach out to me. I'm flying, and that's brilliant.
Do you remember when the tube didn't have any Wi-Fi?
Yeah. I mean, still some
parts don't, but it used to be pretty much the whole network. Even like 10 years ago, you couldn't get on the phone at all. And now there's more and more parts of the tube line. You're online.
I love tube journeys for the reason I just read on them. I don't not my phone at all. And it's a gift every day. Like I sometimes when I get off the tube, will just sit on the platform before I walk out of the station, just to finish the chapter, because it is nice. So I quite like a long commute for that reason, which is it is good. And this without sounding like a wanker, there's something quite nice about being the only person reading what everyone else is scrolling through. Feel good in that moment,
but now we probably have to listen to your podcast when we're commuting.
You're on board. Listen, this has been great, Wenjie. I feel like, it's been a really good conversation. You've obviously got some great insights on it. And is this something you're going to keep doing for your life, like, or how do you see your profession and your research panning out?
I think that's one of the area I really want to explore further, and it's because we are very first scholars to get into this, kind of leading the discussion around it. But I see more and more colleagues are joining this debate and discussion, which is great. So definitely one of the key areas we are looking at. Also, some colleagues are looking at how the technology are affecting destination as well. It's because, like, for example, Instagram, how people are using Instagram, and how people are all going to that place because Instagram keep people posting on Instagram about the influencers are using that. So there's a lot of responsible travel and how to be more responsible when you travel, how technology play a role here affecting our experiences. So definitely that's one of the area I want to look at a bit further. Also keep researching about backpackers, hopefully. Maybe I should tap into my new interest of open water swimming, maybe do some research on that as well. It's more about unpacking my own interest, isn't it? It's the beauty of research.
Yeah, well, Wenjie really is a trailblazer. I mean, the reason we first got in touch was basically, I think it was probably shortly after launching Unplugged, looked around to see if there was any research in the space and just saw many papers by Wenjie. So that's well ahead of the game, but it sounds like other people are joining in now.
But I'm very happy to see more and more people researching that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, same with us. It's like the whole point is to promote this thing. So actually it shows it's working if everyone else is getting in, you know. Wenjie, a real joy. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Where can people find you?
Just type my name and you'll find me, hopefully. I think.
As you pray, never feel like this.